Australian medical professional Carol Bell here. I died for an hour 15 years ago. The ambulance resuscitated me for 47 minutes. I was elsewhere chatting to others. On February 14, 2009, I attended a wedding. I felt fine attending my cousin's wedding to Redefines. I enjoyed it. I went home with my spouse and got ready for bed. Late, we went to bed. Despite no bodily signs, I felt strange. The peculiar feeling was emotional and spiritual. Anyway, I fell asleep. I recall falling asleep easily and being glad about it. Sometimes I struggle, and then I woke up with my eyes closed. Standing up, I could feel myself swaying. Why am I standing up? Why am I out of bed? I opened my eyes to saw my bedroom. It was dark, but the clock was lit. It was 12:30 in the morning when I checked the time. I saw a body in my bed I usually sleep in. This body lay on its back, eyes partially open. After a minute or two, I realized I was looking at my own body in my bed. I said, "That's really odd. This doesn't feel like astral traveling." I've astral traveled in the past, and I know what that feels like, and it's never as clear as this. It's more foggy, I guess, and this was very clear, like I was face to face, which I actually was. I said, "What am I going to do? Am I dead? I don't think so. I don't feel dead." So I tried to get back in. I sat it on the bed and fell over. Soon, I was standing next to the bed again. I repeated that a few times but got the same result. I couldn't get back into my body. Body was blocked from me. I wondered, what am I going to do? I don't know that I want to be dead. My husband was calmly sleeping on his side. I better wake him up. I went to his side of the bed and tried to shake him, but I couldn't. I couldn't move him. So I yelled, I shouted, "Barry, wake up. I'm dead. Help me. Can't you see?" in this dark room, but he didn't reply. He kept dozing. After shaking and yelling at him for almost 15 minutes, I accepted that he would not wake up. Oh, I guess that's it. I'm dead. I wondered, where is the person coming to gather me? Where is the light? Why am I in this room? And I became actually very concerned that I was going to become a ghost, and I didn't want to do that. Then I saw these sparkles coming down through the air, and I could see, like through these sparkles, that there was another space opening up. I thought, oh, I'm not going through there. I didn't want to go through there, knowing I'd go to heaven and die. Then my husband sat up, and I thought, oh, he's awake. He heard me. He stood up and went to the bathroom in our ensuite. I said, "That's it. I'm stuffed." My husband always takes a long time to go to the toilet, particularly at night. I think he naps on the toilet during the night. I thought, well, that's it. I'm dead. Some minutes later, he returned, sprang into bed, kissed me on the face, and asked, "Carol, what have you done?" He switched on the light and saw me blue and silent, like I was dead. My husband, an emergency paramedic, started CPR on me, and when I didn't respond quickly, he got up from the bed and hurried down the hallway to one of our children's rooms, saying, "Quick, bring the ambulance. Your mother's dead." I could hear him. Then he came back into the room and continued with CPR. Sometime later, I could hear the sirens coming, and I'm just watching Bernie do CPR. Then I heard the trolley and the gear and the men coming down the hallway into the bedroom. They pushed my bed aside, moved Bernie aside, and grabbed me, putting me on the floor. I thought, all right, I'm safe. Then I stepped into that light thing, and I found myself in heaven, the proper place. I could see that it was dark there, so it was nighttime, probably the same time as it was where I am. There were two people standing there, or human figures, waiting for me. One of them was very, very tall, probably well over 8 feet tall, and one of them was a normal-sized person. They were standing near an oasis kind of thing. If people read my book or my biography, they'll know that I've actually died 3 times before this death, and each time I've died, I found myself in the same place, so I wasn't shocked by that. I approached these gentlemen, and one identified himself as Jesus, and the other as Metatron. "Good to see you again." I started crying and told them how unhappy and saddened I was by life. Life had been really difficult. They hugged me and let me cry, then told me that I didn't have to return to Earth or live. I could stay dead. It's amazing to be standing in this real but unreal environment. thinking about my life on Earth. Though not part of Earth, it feels as genuine as Earth and has no urgency or pressure. The people, animals, and other beings there are all incredibly compassionate and loving. They advised me to think about it, and that if I wanted to return, they would ask. I think I was revived 47 minutes after the ambulance arrived, so I remained there for a long period. After 47 minutes of CPR, shocks, and adrenaline doses, I was standing in heaven or sitting at that stage chatting to these folks. I asked them seemingly inane questions to find optimism for the planet and future. I asked them if Star Trek, a very old and popular series, was genuine, and they said it existed in the future, but not as shown. I asked them if religion, church, was necessary, and they answered no, as long as you believed in a power bigger than yourself. That life is about learning to be kind, loving, and open. I suppose we all think we can love, but it's hard to truly love someone. I was with a guy breaking up with a girlfriend, and she said, "I thought you loved me," and he answered, "Yes, but I love pizza too." That pretty much sums it up, I thought. How can we distinguish between our feelings for our favorite dish and our partner? Love is deeply emotional, and in heaven, love is connected. Your entire being is connected to it. Very distinct feeling. Metatron and Jesus were compassionate for my suffering. As I mentioned, I'm a medical intuitive, and when I started using my intuition to help people with their health issues, nobody was doing it, and it was highly unaccepted. Many individuals fought with me, making my life difficult. They didn't want to be friends with me or let their kids play with mine. It was traumatic. I believed that if I returned to Earth and continued my energy work, it would become more acceptable, which it has. Since my death 15 years ago, it's more accepted. Since Peter and Hiram, my consulting guides, were in paradise, I talked to them while waiting. We largely talked about myself and how I'd been coping with being angry, dissatisfied, or mean as a child. I think how many cycles, he stated. The other responded, "We've gone through everything," and they glanced at each other, so I knew they'd stop. Before I lay back into my body, I glanced at all the faces of the individuals working on me because I wanted to remember them if I got my function back. Of course, I saw the beings I was talking to when I was in a desert oasis with water, trees, and rocks, and it was twilight, so it was hard to see. However, I'm not sure how it fits in because my time stream was this is where I found myself and stayed. I talked to my old dog. I love dogs, and Voltron, my German Shepherd, was there. I apologized because I couldn't have him live with me in his latter years, so I didn't take as good care of him as I could. I felt like I'd let him down and abandoned him, but he was living with my parents, so he was still in the family. I know it sounds strange to care about dogs, but they have souls, ideas, and feelings. I told him sorry. I noticed a familiar-looking young man but didn't know him. He identified himself as Peter, my sister's son. Peter, one of her twin boys, died 5 hours after delivery. Her other twin lived on Earth, and her son died in heaven. I noticed an older young man who introduced himself as Jonathan. Jonathan was another sister's deceased son. Jonathan, the same age as my eldest kid, drowned at 2.5 years old, which devastated my family, especially my sister. He requested me to tell his mother he was fine, happy, and that she could be at peace, which she has been since then. I relayed that message. Again, I'm not sure where I was in time. Did I leave the folks I was talking to glance around, or was I doing both? Because it felt like heaven. Your thoughts were limitless. Your brain and ideas are purportedly enclosed in your body on Earth. After 15 years, I still haven't figured it out. In heaven, you don't have that casing, so you may reach out and be multidimensional. I'm still organizing. I keep saying, "Oh, well, that happened," or "they told me about this." I was told during that event that many of the wars on Earth today will happen. I forget what advice was given. It may not have been told to me, but it's not in my thoughts. Also saw my grandfather. My grandparents liked me, therefore I resided with them a lot because my family had several kids. She apologized for my grandparents' cruelty to me and my children, which was kind. It wasn't magical because you don't want to push people to go there before they're ready, but you felt like you could find solace, answers, and people who understood you there. Many details are forgotten. I remember walking on solid ground, although I rarely looked down. I believe we go to another life, but not immediately. Heaven is where we heal and repair. Because you've probably been aggrieved, missiled, hurt, or whatever. You learn these lessons. By 70, 80, or 90, these lessons can build up and make you unhappy. In my work, I've found that things that harmed us, injured us, or made us unhappy, angry, etc. cause illness and discord in our bodies. If you investigate lung cancer patients, you'll notice many commonalities. Breast and stomach diseases, etc. They've stored identical life memories in their bodies. This experience has taught me that the body is merely a shell we live in. Our soul travels from place to place and life to life. Sometimes, when a new body is produced, your soul says, "I like that family. I must learn. I need to learn how to deal with enormous wealth and privilege, or I need to learn how to deal with being a very poor person in the farthest reaches of Africa or wherever." Our body is the warehouse. Because we've lived in this body so long, we initially go to paradise with its picture. But I think it's also the most complicated system I've ever seen because, like with my two nephews, why would they have stayed in heaven and kept growing into adult men? You'd think they'd have gone on. How I understood it is that, say, the twin boy has a destiny with his twin brother. If he went into another body, he'd move away from that destiny. As I said, I was given a choice to come back or stay in heaven, and when I first came back, I thought I had convinced them to send me back. I was in a drug-induced coma in the hospital, and I managed to drag myself out of it when my husband was visiting me long enough to say, "I came back for you." And then I went back into the coma, which was quite extraordinary. However, 15 years later, I think in heaven they wanted me to return and continue my work, but it had to be my choice, so they prodded me along.